Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Deep True Crime. I'm Manny Rodriguez. In today's episode, I want to continue the coverage of the Idaho 4. As we know, Bryan Kohberger was arrested as a suspect, as the only suspect in this criminal case. And now we find out little by little more about him and maybe his connection to the girls, mainly Kaylee. Let's go ahead and dive into what we know as of today. From what we are gathering, little by little, it looks like there might have been a connection between Bryan Kohberger and Kaylee Goncalves. What all of that is, well, I'm going to share with you what we know now. But truth is, there's a lot that continues to come out about this. Stephen Goncalves, he has always been the main family member who has been speaking up since day one about the shock behind this, about the lack of information he was given. He has shared more with us than law enforcement has shared with us. Are we entitled to that information? Most likely not. But he was a grieving, hurting dad. And so he wanted answers. And he has shared that now that he knows the name of the perpetrator, well, they started digging in a little deeper into who Bryan was. Now, he said that he began digging up clues linking her with suspect Bryan Kohberger. Did you hear that? He began digging up clues that linked his daughter with the suspect, Bryan Kohberger. That's exactly what he is sharing. Now, the attorney for Kohberger, he is literally saying, you got the wrong guy. And so here he allegedly is shocked by these allegations, and he plans on denying the charges as he's extradited from Pennsylvania. Monroe County Chief Public Defender Jason LaBar said Bryan Kohberger, who was arrested on Friday for the brutal stabbings of Kaylee, Ethan, Xana, and Madison, he said they will work with police to clear his name. Now, let's be honest, my friends, that's a normal comment. Is that not a normal comment for a public defender or whoever is defending the perp, right? We look forward to our day in court. We look forward to bringing this to justice and clearing our name. Haven't we heard that a billion times? Well, no difference here. The public defender, he has one this is in Pennsylvania. He said Mr. Kohberger is eager to be exonerated of these charges and looks forward to resolving these matters as promptly as possible. That is what the public defender, Jason LaBar, is sharing. He also added that the suspect will agree to waive his extradition hearing, which was set for Tuesday, January 3rd, to be sent to Idaho. Now, although initially placed on suicide watch, why would he be placed on suicide watch if he did nothing wrong? Even though that's why he was wearing that vest, right? That vest that he is wearing in this photo that you see, that green vest, is a suicide vest. And so why was he on there, placed without bail, and he is now off that watch as he prepares to argue for his innocence? Now again, this comes as Stephen Goncalves, the father of Kaylee, he said that his family has begun digging up clues linking her with suspect Bryan Kohberger. What those are, he shared, right now, he doesn't really want to share. Literally, he doesn't want to share just yet what he's finding out. LaBar said Kohberger, a Washington State University graduate student, he is shocked a little bit. Why isn't he shocked a lot is my question. But the attorney, the public defender, said he's shocked a little bit, but that he's calm right now. Really? Now, the attorney added, we don't really know much about the case. I don't have any affidavit or probable cause because that is sealed in Idaho and cannot be made public yet until that has been served to the defendant, the suspect. And so he's added that, I don't really know what's in there. That's what the attorney is sharing. I didn't want to discuss the case with him because I'm merely his representation for this procedural issue as to whether or not he wants to be extradited back to Idaho. Labar, however, did note that he spoke with Kohberger about his alibi and where he was when the students were murdered on November 13th. And Labar told CNN, knowing, of course, that it's likely they have location data from his cell phone already putting him on the border of Washington, Idaho, it was an easy decision, obviously, since he doesn't contest that he is Bryan Kohberger. So that's who they're after, right? He's not saying, I'm not Bryan. He's admitting, hey, you got Bryan, but I didn't do this. Now, the defense attorney also spoke with Kohberger's family, who said he said were shocked by the developments when authorities raided their home in the Poconos before sunrise Friday morning. Now, it was either 3 a.m. or 1 a.m. We're not really sure. Local people said it was about 1 a.m., something along those lines. But news reports were saying around 3 a.m. And so, according to Labar, they're very shocked by this. Out of character for Bryan. The FBI, local police, Idaho State troopers were at their house at approximately 3 a.m. yesterday, knocking on the door and announcing themselves to enter out of real shock and awe to them. That's what Labar said. Approximately 3 a.m., right? So, again, more media reporting that it was 3 a.m. Now, as the investigation into Kohberger unfolds, Steve, the dad, he said that once police told him and his family about the suspect, they got to work trying to find answers as fast as possible on this. And truth is, more is going to keep coming out. Literally, more is going to keep coming out. Without a shadow of a doubt, more will continue to come out. I mean, this is pretty obvious stuff for the most part, don't you say? Like, this is still early on. We don't know more than that. All we know is that dad is speaking up about his daughter. His daughter is said to have some connection to the suspect. And he said that the family have started to see connections between the two, but he was not ready to share. My friends, what could those connections be? Could it be, I'm hypothetically speaking because I don't know her, but there is some connection and he's not yet ready to speak. What could that be? I mean, what pops in your mind when you think of what we're theorizing? We don't know. When this affidavit comes out, we'll know a little more. But the dad says, we have found connections between Kaylee Goncalves and the killer. And so Steve said that once police told him and his family about the suspect, gave them his name, they got to work right away, going through everything to try to find who is this guy. Now, we did see some social media stuff. I shared this yesterday if you've been following my channel. We did see some social media stuff saying that he allegedly was following her on Instagram. I haven't found a credible source around that, so I'm not going to share. I found an Instagram account that looks like it could belong to him. I didn't see any connections to Madison or Kaylee or Xana. I did find that in one account, it looks like he posted a video in October, which would have been before the incident. So that kind of almost leads me to believe that that account might be real. But media has said that he has no social media platform. So because there's contradiction on there, again, I'm not perfect in this. I'm probably making a mistake even sharing about this connection. But her dad says there's a connection. My question is, what can that connection be? Now, people on the internet, they're coming up with their own theories, obviously, right? Because Bryan, he is a PhD student in the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology at Washington State University. We do know that part as a fact. Now, internet sleuths, they've come up with a new revelation that the killer had followed the two girls. But again, I haven't found any truth on that. I haven't found any. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe when his name came out, people started deleting, like, we don't want this to be affiliated. I don't know. So I can't really verify. That's why I'm not really sharing that. But we are discussing it. But people were tweeting that, oh my gosh, it looks like he might be connected. But what they were tweeting did not look like verifiable accounts that you can really back that up. But we do know that Kaylee is said to have a stalker. The fact that his daughter says, or that her dad says, they were connected somehow, that almost leads me to believe that this stalker talk might be true. He says, now that there's a person and a name that someone can specifically look for and see if there's any connections in any way, so they're just trying to figure out. Now that's what their family's attorney said, Shannon Gray. That's what he told ABC News. Now, Steve said that no one in the family knew or recognized Kohberger when they first were initially told that we have a suspect, we're going to arrest him, because it sounds like the night before the arrest is when they started getting, hey, we have a suspect. I don't know if they gave him the name at the time or if they didn't release the name until after he was arrested. I don't know that part. But see, Steve said that no one in the family knew or recognized Kohberger when they were initially told about him by police. And he told ABC that they found links between the suspect and Kaylee. But he said he is not ready to discuss them yet as the police investigation continues. Now, police had previously refused to rule out that the killings were targeted. Again, which makes me feel like this is a connection because according to Stephen Goncalves, Kaylee had it the worst. Think about that. If Kaylee has it the worst, now he's saying that there's a connection between the two. He's just not ready to discuss it. It kind of scares me a little bit. What is that connection? Because the affidavit, when it gets released, hopefully next week, and we will be diving into it as soon as we can. Soon as that's released, we will do the best of covering that, the whole thing. But when that gets released, we should be able to find a connection. But Dad right now is not ready to speak on that at all. And truth is, I don't blame him. And so the police, they refused to rule out the killings were targeted, but it remains unknown what connections that this guy has to the victims who were living just 8 miles from his campus apartment. And so the grieving father described Kohberger as a broken soul, pitiful human being, and that he was the little coward that had finally got caught running. Because right around the Christmas holidays, he went to his mom's and dad's in Pennsylvania. And truth is, we're going to continue to find out more. But her dad, he shared that, this is a big deal and now we want justice. They literally just had a celebration of life for Maddie and Kaylee on the same day. And really, what we want is justice. We all want justice for this heartbroken family. And now the second phase of what I refer to, the second phase anyway, begins. And as people start sharing their thoughts on this killer, right? He is the alleged suspect here. The guy, we're gonna find out more about him. A lot of people are starting to speak up. People he went to school with are starting to speak up. People he was working with are starting to speak up. But Kaylee Goncalves' dad, seen in this picture, the father's restraint to share details about the investigation is a U-turn from his previous outspoken nature. He's been very outspoken about this whole case from the very beginning. And now he's very thankful to the Moscow police for tracking down the key suspect to his daughter's murder. Key suspect. Alleged suspect, right? Just a suspect at this time. And he shares, I want to commend those police officers and everything that they have done, because it has been very difficult to work with all the media, especially me being so vocal. That's what he told Fox News. The investigation did everything they could to keep this away from the public, to keep the jury untainted, do everything by the book, and I believe they have done an amazing job of that. That's what he has shared. Especially as we continue to learn about him. The graduate from DeSales University in Pennsylvania in May 2022 with a Master of Arts in Criminal Justice. And during the press conference on Friday, authorities did confirm that a white Hyundai Elantra was discovered in the search, with sources saying it was towed from outside Kohberger's home. And even a neighbor is said to have taken a picture of this Elantra and sent it in as a tip. Maybe that tip is what led on law enforcement to that scene. Law enforcement sources told CNN that his DNA was discovered at the scene of the crime, with officers managing to track down who owned the car seen in the area of the slayings, which was tied to his mother. My friends, I have a question for you. How did they get his DNA? What we are finding out is that maybe they tied it to family that led to him. That led to him owning this car while he was there. Ownership, family might have owned it with him using it. Still part of his ownership. But what we're thinking is, again, as we speculate to learn more, they might have tied the DNA through family DNA that led to him owning this white Elantra that FBI then started surveilling as he traveled through the Christmas holidays to Pennsylvania. And so they were surveilling him for 4 days. That's the FBI. They were surveilling him for 4 days. And so he was kept under surveillance with the FBI watching him for 4 days while the investigators were getting that arrest warrant so they can go and get him. And so we still have a lot of unanswered questions around this, right? This thing is far from over. Literally far from over. What do you think will happen next in this? What do you think will happen next? And we'll dive into that here in a second, right? But we find out about this criminal research that he was doing. What is the purpose behind that? Like, why would you do that? And again, we're going to have a lot of people that are coming out. Like, for example, these two homicide research group founders, atypical homicide research group founders, Enzo Yaksik and former FBI agent Jonathan T. Gilliam, they spoke with DailyMail.com about Kohberger's background. And truth is, I shared even on some of this a little bit. And again, I'm not a former FBI. I was kind of putting two to two together with what we were finding out. And so the suspect's choice of academic field, this is raising a lot of questions about whether his studies were part of a twisted criminal fantasy. And so, see, Kohberger, he was pursuing a PhD in criminology at the nearby Washington State University at the time of the murders. And before that, he was a student at DeSales University where he learned all about forensic psychology. And he was learning under a famed criminologist, Catherine Ramsland. Man, I thought I had this stuff in order for you guys, so my apologies on that. But the founder of Atypical Homicide Research Group in Boston, he shared in an email to dailymail.com, I suspect that Kohberger was well aware of his dark nature and homicidal ideation, and endeavored to discover more about himself through his studies. That's what Enzo Yakzik, a criminal profiler and founder of the Atypical Homicide Research Group in Boston, that's what he shared in an email to dailymail.com. And he also added, but pursuing an advanced degree to become a better murderer is a foolhardy exercise, as nothing more is learned about such tactics and strategies that can be found on a popular podcast or true crime book. And so he even shared, if Kohberger is an aspiring serial, who desired to commit the perfect murder, he quickly learned what many have discovered in the modern age. It is far more difficult to get away with serial, today than when Ted Bundy was active. Very true. With all the technology that they have today, this is really, really very true. Excuse me. And just 5 months before this incident, Kohberger carried out an anonymous survey of criminal offenders. And you guys have heard me talking about this survey too, what he was doing. It's mind-blowing what we have learned since then. Because the questions that he was asking were pretty holy mackerel. Did you have this on your mind and you wanted to get other criminals? So at DeSales University, he did a survey and he was asking, after committing the crime, what were you thinking and feeling? How did you leave the scene? Before leaving, is there anything else you did? How did you accomplish your goal? Please explain what you were thinking and feeling. What was the first move you made in order to accomplish your goal? Please detail any thoughts. And before making your move, how did you approach the victim or target? Please detail what you were thinking and feeling. Why did you choose the victim or targets over others? After arriving, what steps did you take prior to locating the victim or target, i.e., person or object? Please detail your thoughts and feelings. I find this very cringing and scary at the same time. Very, very cringy. Because when you think about that, that's like almost trying to get into the mind of a perp. And so I feel like that was also part of his motive. But if he had a connection to Kaylee, and then this becomes part of his motive because he wanted to see what it's like, speculation, then what do you think about that? Because we really don't know why. Until we know the motive, we don't really know anything much further. Now, Jonathan Gilliam, he shared in a phone interview with Daily Mail, I suspect we'll find out he was becoming satiated for a period of time learning from these criminals, but once that wasn't doing it anymore, he took it from fantasy to real life. And Gilliam added, quite often a person evolves over time, and as their desires evolve, the only way they can get those things satiated evolves too. Every step of the way, he probably became a little more odd and a little more deviant. And a former friend even said he came back thin as a pole or something. I forget what his exact term was. But this kind of resonates with Mr. Gilliam. It becomes a little more odd and a little bit more deviant. That's what this guy said. And he was thought to have been even a bully in school when he was younger. But this guy said he came back with an attitude. He came back. He wasn't the same person. That kind of adds a little to what he was sharing as well. The roommate or former friend, I forget, I shared it yesterday. You can go back and check it out. But I find this very interesting that what some of the people were sharing, right? Because classmates start speaking up. And so one classmate of the Idaho quadruple incident suspect, he has said he became more chatty in their criminology class after November's quadruple incident, but turned silent when the killings themselves were discussed. Again, that's just their take. You never know what their purpose is. But now that he's been taken into custody, people are obviously going to share their thoughts. And he was found almost 2,500 miles from where this took place. And so students who attended Washington State University with Kohberger, they have shared that they were shocked. B.K. Norton, who was in the same criminal justice graduate program with Kohberger, said her classmate appeared more animated and talkative following the murders. He seemed more upbeat and willing to carry a conversation. That's what B.K. Norton told New York Times. But Norton noted all his enthusiasm would go away and he would become more quiet and deadpan when the class would discuss the Idaho murder case. And so he would get quiet. Why would he get quiet? You know, and if you think about his actions, if Kaylee was the main one, we have learned that multiple people had defensive wounds. Who had defensive wounds? Xana had defensive wounds. We have heard that multiple times. I'm finding that pretty credible. Ethan had defensive wounds. We do know multiple people. If the killer, if the perp, again, whether it's him or not, if he is said to have ties to Kaylee, if he first goes upstairs to the third floor to Kaylee, right? Gets Kaylee. Maybe Kaylee runs to the friend's room. And that's why I'm theorizing. Please forgive me if you don't like this. If Kaylee runs to Maddie's room and they're found in Maddie's bed, we don't know for sure, or vice versa, and Maddie came, or we find that Kaylee had the worst of everything. So the way I'm feeling like this is coming together, he's up there first because that was his main target. Allegedly he's the suspect. Allegedly he's the perp. Allegedly he is the one that's responsible for this. But if he goes up there first, Ethan and Xana hear something going on up there. Because by all accounts, former tenants speak. Like, you hear a lot here. That would make sense why Xana and Ethan have a lot of defensive wounds. Because Ethan, I believe, was trying to be hero. Not on purpose, just like, what's going on? I'm the male in this house. I can't just run, right? And then it is alleged to have that he was found in the hallway floor, which is where one of the roommates come up, becomes unconscious. Someone else grabs her phone, calls the 911. I'm speculating a little bit by everything we have learned from this. This would make sense how Kaylee was the target and how the others came about this. It would make sense to me. Again, we don't know. And when we find this affidavit next week, right now I'm still playing detective until we know more. But it has come out that Mr. Stephen Goncalves, he has shared that a lot about Kaylee. And now he is sharing she was connected to the suspect. I think that's big. I think that's big. I even think it's big that he's like, why are you guys pointing at me? What he's saying. And truth is, how long did people know about this? And so this guy is saying he's shocked that he has been named the, killer. And here he was first put on suicide watch and now taken off of that. But they are now saying that, police now say that they believe he acted alone. Did he act alone? They're saying that he acted alone. But we don't know that for sure. Again, a lot is still coming out. But they're saying that he acted alone. And his first question was anyone else arrested? If he acted alone, was the other person that he's asking about just someone who knew about it? And so police in Moscow, Idaho, they believe that the suspect in this incident acted alone. That's what Chief James Fry indicated to Fox News today. Now, Bryan Kohberger, the guy who's been taken into custody on a warrant charging him with 4 counts of first degree and burglary. And so when he was asked by Fox News if the police were considering the possibility of any accomplices, he said, "We truly believe we have the individual that committed these crimes." That's what he even said in the news conference. That committed it. Okay, so he must have been by himself, but would other people have known about this? When he was questioned further on whether there was a clear connection between the suspect and the victims, Fry said that police were still fleshing out the crime's profile. That's what Mr. Chief Fry said. And he said, that's part of that investigation that we are still putting pieces together. We're still gathering information. That's why we've still asked people, send us tips on the individual. Send us any information you have, because that's all going to be part of that picture. Now, still, it's going to give us even more information. And so I find that very interesting. 1 hour after the news broke of the arrest, he said that more than 400 calls came in to the tip line in 1 hour after the news broke of the arrest. Wow, right? And again, we do know that the Hyundai Elantra was found at his parents' home where he was taken in. And Chief Fry, he called it a little disappointing that Kohberger was studying criminology in graduate school at Washington State University. And he shared, that's not what we want in our profession. We hold ourselves to a higher standard, and we hold ourselves to an ethical standard. Now, as we know, this mysterious incident initially baffled the investigators and had all of the community up in arms, like, when are we going to find out more about this? We want to know more. Are we entitled to know more? I really don't know, my friends. I don't know. I feel like, as someone who's following this, if the media is going to report on it, we should definitely know. If a life is taken in a manner like this, I truly believe a lot more voices should speak up. Without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt, people should speak up. And honestly, as you really stop and think about it, this is not the end of it. Because as I said, BK Norton, who has been speaking up about this as well, she was sharing on this. And Norton told the New York papers that her class was in shock over his arrest, describing him as a smart and quiet student with an interest in forensic psychology. I find that very interesting. Now, BK Norton, however, added that Kohberger did keep a distance from his classmates due to anti-LGBTQ comments he allegedly made in class. And she said he sort of creeped people out because he stared and didn't talk much. But when he did, it was very intelligent and he needed everyone to know he was smart. That's what BK Norton told The Times. Another student who spoke with The Times under the condition of being anonymous backed up Norton's claim and said Kohberger didn't have many friends at the school because of the alleged offensive remarks. Ben Roberts, a classmate of Kohberger and Norton, echoed the suspect's usual quiet nature in class, but said his demeanor changed after the incident. He was starting to show up really tired. That's what Roberts told the Seattle Times. He'd always have a cup of coffee in his hand, and he kind of looked like he was riding the knife edge between worn out and completely exhausted. I wonder what that is all about. And so the TikTok video Casey Farts had shared claimed Kohberger had managed to get clean from drugs by the time they last spoke in 2017. And this is Casey Farts. I don't know if that's her real name or TikTok I'm funny name. She told Casey, right around his age, 29 years old, she's an old friend of Kohberger, and she recently went on TikTok to describe the details of his life. I think this video has been taken down because some of the things that she shared was against TikTok's rules. So I believe that video might have been taken down since. She told how the last time she had spoken with Kohberger was 5 years ago when they ran into one another at a wedding when he appeared well after allegedly using drugs during high school. And she said that back in 2017, when I spoke to him, he was clean. He was doing security detail at a school, I believe, but he seemed like he was better. Obviously, that wasn't true, especially if he did this. Reports show that while working at his alma mater in the Pleasant Valley School District in 2018, Kohberger earned praises for saving another security officer's life when the officer was having an asthma attack and he was quick. Someone told him, quick, go get the defibrillator or something like that. And, Casey's brother Thomas described Kohberger as a bully who would happily note his friend's flaws and insecurities in order to distract from his own personal struggles, like with his weight. And so Thomas told the Daily Beast, he did that to me all the time. He would go after my intelligence. He would basically insinuate that I'm kind of slow-witted and that I'm forgetful and that I lack the intelligence to be his friend. We hear that quite a bit. This is the famous forensic psychology that Kohberger took classes at under the famed criminologist Catherine Ramsland. And Catherine had written extensively about the psychology behind murders and how investigators hunt them down. So he was trying to do something, I guess. I'm not even too sure, to be completely honest, what his thought process was. But this guy, I truly believe, and again, if this is the perp, if this is the person that did this, I truly believe that he was going to do more. This was not going to be the first time he did this if he got away with it. First, he had to make sure he can get away with it, cover his tracks. But I believe he was on his way to do bigger things. I believe he was going to be someone just like, I'm just speculating, just like Ted Bundy. That is my thought process. I could be completely wrong on this, But the guy was taking surveys. He literally was trying to become an expert on reading them to become one. And again, if he did this, we're still trying to figure out. But for a PhD student to be arrested for such a thing, wow. Mind-blowing in so many ways. Literally. Mind-blowing in so many ways. So when you really think about it though, why would he do this? I mean, he attended Washington State University. He was a student at DeSales, where he learned about, forensic psychology from this famed criminologist. And why though? Was this something in it forever? And I shared with you about how he was doing this, about where this study, let me try to find it real quick, where he was doing this study, and here, no, that's not the study. So I thought I had it up, maybe I don't. And so he's doing this study where he is looking for people to do this survey, to take the survey that he was doing for himself, for his own research participation needed. And now that this has come out, Reddit took it down. Reddit took this post down. Hi, my name is Brian. I'm inviting you to participate in this research project that seeks to understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision making. Now again, this has since been taken down. Okay? But the student investigator, it even says right there, Bryan Kohberger, spelled like his last name as well. And so that's why I feel like when it was said that he might have been trying to be an aspiring serial you-know-what by the former FBI agent, I kind of actually believe that. If he is the perp. Again, we don't really know until we at least know what's in this affidavit before we can even say more. But the fact that his DNA was tied to the crime scene, that tells me so far, they're on the right track. What do you think about that? Do you think that they're on the right track? If it is true that he was doing this research, and then you find that the DNA was fine at the crime scene, could it really be anything other than that? Literally, could it possibly be anything else when it comes to that? Honestly, I think that because his DNA is linked to the crime scene, he has some affiliation with this. They have said they believe they have the person responsible for this, which means they believe they got the guy. He still gets his day in court, but they believe they have the guy. And so here we have from campus to crime scene, and now we find a lot more of this. Here this guy was. And now you have a lot of people who are blown away. Blown away that this guy could do that. Blown away. And truth is, when he was doing this, there it is, I was looking for that. When he was doing this, he was out the door. He was going. They caught a white Hyundai Elantra leaving the scene, and then the gas station attendant, who was bored, was beating time and said, let me see what's going on that night, really came to help. That has really helped. And so obviously everyone, national attention. This guy went 2,500 miles. He went 2,500 miles. And so I find that very interesting. Now, classmates at DeSales where he graduated, said Kohberger took the course Psychology of Death Investigators, named after one of Ramsold's, that famous person that he was learning under, had completed a research project, and that's why he was asking the ex-cons to map out how they committed their crimes. Now again, it has since been deleted from Reddit about the project, and students had wanted to understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision making when committing a crime. Kohberger and his project partners had asked the former criminals questions. And so let's get that straight, that it wasn't only him trying to do this research, but he also had the partners in this project. And it was how they prepared for the crime, their travel details, and how the crime played out. Now, Mrs. Ramsland, she did not immediately respond to any requests for comment, so I don't know if she's going to even release a statement at all. But the school, the sales, they have condemned this alleged crime. The school said, as a Catholic Salesian community, we are devastated by this senseless tragedy. Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims' families during this difficult time. Very difficult time. Very difficult time. And, you know, now that we know who he is, now they're hoping more information begins to come out. Because anyone who is tied to him, someone had to see some BLOOD on him, right? Come on. There's no way there was not something out there. That's hard for me to believe. Hard for me to believe that there is not some trail that led. But again, until we get those arrest records, we won't really know more. Right? We literally will not know until we get those affidavits. And now that we know this, you know, people, even the neighborhood, the people in Pennsylvania was like, oh my gosh, we would have never thought that this guy would travel way over here and all of a sudden it's in my backyard. The lady on the left is like, this is right around the corner from me. Literally, right around the corner. That's what she said. So she was blown away that this could happen. So even the community where he ended up is like, holy mackerel. Did this really happen? For the guy to end up over here? That's right around the block from me. That's what the lady is saying. I'm surprised, out of Idaho, for the guy to end up over here. Really? Yeah, this is mind-blowing for everyone. Mind-blowing for everyone. And so now that he's arrested, now we find out that it looks like he does have some ties to the girls, at least Kaylee. What do you think those ties are? What are your thoughts on those ties? Seriously, let me know in the comments what you believe those ties are. Is it drugs? We do know that it's a party house. Again, we don't know everything around there. Party house doesn't generally nowadays mean just, you know, cannabis, right? I mean, when I was in a fraternity, there was stuff I didn't even want to. I don't know about that white stuff. I've never seen that go around my fraternity at all. But some talks out there are that, you know, that might be affiliated with it. I don't know how. I gotta watch what I say in these things, right? I know YouTube wants to keep it family friendly. True crime's not family friendly. But I'm not always comfortable saying particular. I don't even like to curse. I do not like to curse. So to give you an idea of why some of this stuff could be a little more like, I'm trying to be careful as well. You know, I know that YouTube wants it to be a little more less, you know, rated R and more PG friendly. Well, I still love true crime. I still like playing detective. So I have to be careful what I share. And so truth is, we all have to be careful. We all have to be careful. But this is a mystery moving on. This is literally a mystery all along this. But Moscow PD, they truly believe that this is a targeted attack. And at the same time, Moscow is now saying that he acted alone. Maybe the incidents alone, but did anyone else know of this? And so Brian Enton had tweeted that some of Brian's college classmates say they have been told to only talk to police about their interactions with him because they could potentially be called as character witnesses in the case. He just tweeted that 13 minutes ago, so I'm not going to act like I already had that. As I'm live, might as well share whatever other little pieces of information pop up. But of course, I'm always going to try to do my best to be careful because some people will throw stuff out there. The talks about the white truck. I'm not going to dive into that because I haven't seen anything that is relevant to that. But maybe it is. I don't know until I know more. I do not want to share. But truth is, let's stop and think about that. He got somewhere. It took almost 7 weeks. It's going to be hard for me to believe that no one else knows anything. Hard for me to believe that. And when I say no one else knows anything, is because I don't think his project people, I don't think, did anyone see him covered in, what? Was there footprints that no one said anything about? Did he check into a hotel to get cleaned up? How did he get cleaned up? Where are his clothes from that night? Right? What do you think about that? What do you think? Because truth is, and of course, Nancy Grace, she's talking out now. I love to hear her. She is, obviously she's got a respectful filter as much as she can, but what else is there? There's still unanswered questions. Like, for example, they don't have the weapon. And as someone, I'm talking about him, as someone who's been studying this stuff, they better find a weapon. They're going to need that part too. Someone might be affiliated to that. Someone might be affiliated to that. Where they say, I know where he put that. He asked that for me to borrow it. He sold me that. One person said they sold him one. But again, I'm not even going to go there. But how did he get it originally? How did he originally get that knife? They said it was like a K-bar knife, like a Rambo style knife. So again, be careful what you're putting out there or listening to, because someone was like, hey, someone said they sold him this knife, and it was like, well, that don't look like a Rambo knife. And so, think about that as we move forward in this, because how do we know what else might be out there? My friends, at the end of the day, this is not about me. This is about the victims. I'm just trying to share what we know at this time that we know it. But right now, he's claiming his innocence. Let's remember that as well. He is literally claiming his innocence in this whole thing. And so the University of Idaho president, he shared as well, thanking the community after the arrest of this campus. You know what? He did. If this is the guy who the police say they believe they got the right person, which they better be saying that, right? And so, as we know, Chief Fry wasn't giving us much, but as I said, they had someone. They had someone. And now this criminology student is charged with 4 University of Idaho incidents. And now we wait to find out more. I hope we find out more as well. And next week is when we'll find out if he will be extradited. Will he fight it? He won't fight it. Hopefully he won't. I don't think he will. But I think if he's been studying this, he knew this time was going to come. Did he lead a tip into himself? He knew this time would come, and now he's going to probably see if he can be if he can get away with this. I think he was trying to commit the perfect murder. I believe that. What say you? Do you believe he was trying to commit the perfect, and now he wants to see if he can get away with it? I'm speculating, friends. I'm speculating. So, what do you think about that, though? What do you think? Do you think that he believes he's going to be exonerated from this? I don't think he's going to. If he is the killer and they have the DNA, I don't think so. I truly don't think so. I do not think he will be seeing that light if they have his DNA. If they have his DNA. Again, if it's linking to him, one person believes that, his personality against women might be there, might be a problem. These are the apartments that he was living in while he attended Washington State University. And I saw this out there that was shared on Twitter, that they narrowed their focus to Kohberger after tracing his ownership of a white Hyundai Elantra seen in the area of the incident. According to 2 law enforcement sources briefed on the investigation, Kohberger's DNA has also been matched to genetic material recovered at the off-campus house where the students were found. And genetic genealogy is said to have helped investigators identify the suspect. Now, a source with knowledge of the case had shared that DNA found in Idaho was taken through a public database to find potential matches for family members. That's what the source said. Once potential family members were found, subsequent investigative work by law enforcement led to the identification of Kohberger. That's according to the source. I personally think this is really big news. Authorities who were trying to find him learned the suspect had left the area and went to Pennsylvania. That's what 2 law enforcement officers had shared. And think about that, because we knew that he wasn't in CODIS, he's never been arrested, so they did not match him that way. But they were able to find it through genetic DNA. Almost like they got his mom and said, hey, we're trying to find someone that might be connected. Do you know anyone that's connected to this white Elantra? Well, yeah, I have a white Elantra. My son drives. I'm guessing. Don't shoot me. I'm theorizing until we find out more. Because obviously the parents are not going to be cooperating. Their son has just been taken in for one of the most heinous crimes and that had all national attention on it, right? So if you stop and you think about that, wow. And so now they're going to find out more. They're probably going to link a little bit more of the motive because they have to have something. They just can't share anything because sealed affidavit, not made to the public. We don't know more. Moscow police is still investigating this. Remember that as well, my friends. Moscow PD, they're still investigating this. So they're asking you, if you know something, say something about him, his character, and the whole 9 yards. And here's the truth. Idaho has the death penalty. If you guys have been following the Vallow case, Lori Vallow, and her husband who did the wrong things to her children, the stepdad did the bad. Well, they're seeking the death penalty in that. So we know that they have the death penalty in Idaho. Will he speak up to avoid that? Will he speak up? And if you think about it, this is true that, hey, we don't know why he would do this, but will he plead out in order to not have the death penalty facing him? Because unless this is an open and shut case, and again, it costs a lot of money to go to trial. So I'm sure the state wants to prevent that. Really, I think that he's going to plead out when they present everything they have. Because again, his public defender in Pennsylvania, who doesn't even know is only going off of what he has shared. And of course, why would he say I'm the guilty party, right? But the public defender claims he is eager to be exonerated of these charges and looks forward to resolving these matters as promptly as possible. And he intends to waive his extradition hearing to expedite his transport. So he's going to waive his extradition in order to get this going sooner than later. That's what this is sharing. Literally. So, when you think about it, what else could be? We know we still don't have the weapon. We know that there are still some unanswered questions. What are those unanswered questions? We know that they're saying now he acted alone. He did not have an accomplice. But do others know about this? That is a question on its own. Because people are describing this guy as a bright, intelligent person. He went to school for a long time, took some time off as well. But they're saying that he was an intelligent person. The guy was going for his PhD. I would think he has to be intelligent somehow or another. Doesn't really mean much outside of that. And so we still have some unanswered questions, right? What questions do you still have? Let me know in the comments what questions you still have in this case. My thought process outside of the weapon, where's the weapon? Here he was described as bright and awkward at the same time. But he literally carried this out. And what else happens after that? What else? And so he was arrested on a fugitive from justice warrant. Did you hear that? Arrested on a fugitive justice warrant. That's what he was arrested for in Pennsylvania. Like, they have so much on this guy. Literally. And so, they have so much, he might as well just come clean, prevent the heartache for the family, prevent them having to dive into hearing everything. Right? What do you think? Let me know in the comments what you think. Because I just want justice for these kids. I just want to see him face, if he's the guy, I want to see him face justice. I want to see him face justice. But they literally had, let me share with you here. Like, it did not take long for things to get out, right? Especially if it's made public. But you had the criminal complaint. This is in Pennsylvania. The criminal complaint against Bryan Christopher Kohberger. So they have a lot of stuff on this guy. And everyone is happy to have him arrested. But we also want to make sure that it's the right guy. And right now, it definitely looks like it's the right guy. If there is DNA that is found there, they have the right guy. This is the second part of the police criminal complaint. And you're like me. We just want justice. We don't want excuses. We want justice. That's it. We want justice. And so we don't know much on him other than right now he's just a suspect. Right now he's just a suspect. But what we do know is they have some serious evidence against him. My friends, I know I can go on and on, because there's so much to this. And I know some of this I'm kind of repeating myself because I see you guys are tuning in. And so I appreciate the engagement. And they have, Jonathan says car will have, BLLOOD in it. Yeah, it will. And I think they already said they found some DNA evidence in the car that links the car to this. And truth is, at the end of the day, it's all we really care about. Justice for Idaho 4. What else is there? What else is there? Justice is all there's left. And we don't know how far this guy will take it. We don't know how great he was at becoming this student. We don't know. Here he was as a young boy. Seeing these pictures kind of make me sad. I'm not gonna lie. Because what would make a person do this? What would make a person do this? And, we still don't know more on this other than why. Did he have serial tendencies? We're talking about over 2,000 tips that, has the same name over and over. There were so many tips and it was the wrong people. But now they were following the right person because they have so much. And come to find out that he was working near there, even lived near there. So really, at the end of the day, we just want justice. We don't care about anything else. My friends, I'm going to close this out and wish you a happy new year. Today is December 31st. So happy new year, my friends. I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate that you're following this story. And Shane, I'm with you. Why was he asking if anyone else was arrested? Police said that he acted alone. That's as much as we know at this time. My friends, next year we're gonna have some call-ins. We're gonna have it. I want to be a really big voice for these victims in the most respectful manner that I can. Your opinions really matter to me. I know some of you guys say some negative things in the comments. I get it. Every YouTuber gets it. I kind of stay away from comments sometimes because of that reason. But I also have to pay attention to some comments because I am totally open for, criticism, constructive criticism. I am totally open because at the end of the day, this is not about me. And if I'm doing videos that no one's paying attention to, then how am I even being a voice for the victims? My whole goal is to be someone that you can follow and get your information from. I do true crime stories. I like shows like First 48 that follow the whole sequence of how they led to it and follow it all the way to the very end. When I was younger and I got into true crime, I didn't like Unsolved Mysteries. I never liked that show because you're left hanging. And so I struggled with that. But now that I'm following cases, it dawned on me, just keep them updated, right? Just share updates and then also have the true crime story, the full true crime story, after the trial, after it's all done, and share that. So if that's the type of content you like to follow, that's what you're going to find on this channel. Is a little of both. Maybe you don't want the full true crime story and you want what's going on in the news right now. Well, I want to please you as well. Maybe you want the full story from what happened at the beginning, what happened till the end that led to the conviction. And normally, if they're only getting 10 years, I'm not going to do a story on that. I'm going to do a story that the person doesn't get loose and come after me and try to hurt me, right? So I'm trying to pick the right stories. I'm not a view chaser. I'm about the victims and a voice for the victims. But of course, I'm not. My goal is that this is a growing channel to help the audience stay tuned. My friends, Happy New Year. I hope 2023 brings a lot less crimes. Truth is, this has been happening before any of us were born. If you are a person of prayer, please pray. If you're a believer in anything, please believe and hope and pray. And, let's get justice for these victims. One thing we do know is people are going to continue to be born every day. People are going to continue to die every day. And people are going to be leaving this early way too soon because of other selfish behavior. And at the end of the day, the more we can share and be a voice, the better it can be for others. And so, my friends, thank you for joining me. I look forward to keeping you updated on what happens next. This is just getting started. There's so much to cover. I can think of all the different ways to keep you in touch. And I want to do it in the most respectful manner possible. But there are so many unanswered questions that we just want to find out now. Right? You're probably like me. We don't know everything. We don't. We want to know everything, but we don't know everything. And so you're going to want to keep in touch if you want to keep finding out. We don't know why Moscow police have refused to provide more details as to why they think they were targeted. But we'll find out when that's open, right? We don't know where that weapon is, but we'll probably find out pretty soon. We don't know if the killer left their DNA at the crime scene. Actually, we do know that, but we don't know where. Was it on each of the bodies? Was it on the floor? We don't know all those things. We don't know. We don't know about more on him. Did he know all the victims or just Kaylee? Because we do know that his dad said there was a tie to Kaylee. But did he know Maddie? Because Maddie and Kaylee were best of friends. Was he the stalker everyone's been talking about for these last months? Was he also were they the target, or was actually he's trying to fulfill a deep desire to see if he can get away with it? Is that why he became part of that survey? Or was it just part of the project and he didn't really care? We don't know. There are so many unanswered calls. We don't know who made that 911 call. We don't know. We will find out soon. We will find out soon. Today is the day. You said he followed all 3 IGs. I've not found a credible source on that. I have not. I'm not buying that yet. If you can find a credible source, please comment or send me an email at deeptruecrime@gmail.com. I did see that. I just haven't found a credible source. You can create a fake account and do that. And really, unless you know that account was created before and he was following before, say, his arrest at least, so it's hard to really believe that, but I'm struggling to believe that. I shared that earlier in this broadcast, but we still don't even know about that full timeline about Xana and Ethan's movements on the night of that. Those are still unclear. Did they go and have a romper room or something? We don't know. We don't know, right? We're still finding out these things. Was he in that Elantra by himself? They were asking for the person on it, or, it's like, we don't know. T-Rev poster says the suspect dated Dylan. I don't know. I saw some of T-Rev and he said that he shared stuff and people were taking it as full and he said he didn't. I don't know. I don't know. We got to be careful. Anyone could call in and lie. Anyone. So we got to be careful with, if one person says it, well, take it for a grain of salt. If a lot of people say it, well, maybe there is something behind it. But who's sharing it? That is key. Is this the stalker? We don't know yet. We don't know, right? All the areas of interest, we don't know why. My friends, I'm Manny Rodriguez. Let me get off here before we continue way down and keep going for hours after hours after hours, right? And so it's easy to do that. And I love this. And I hope that you're enjoying the content, because this is not just about me. It's about being someone that can be someone that you can get reliable information from. Have I made mistakes? Yep. Will I make mistakes? Probably. You know, I will definitely do my best to be my best. That I can promise you. My friends, thank you for joining me today. I need to get off here because today is date night with my wife and she's patiently waiting. Have a great day, my friends. I love you all. Be careful. Be safe. Look out for one another. Look out for one another. You know, in my theory, as I was sharing earlier, it just popped in my mind that with Ethan and Xana, you know, maybe having the most defensive wounds, I feel like after all that commotion, that's why he didn't go after the first floor. He probably thought time ran out, cops are probably on their way. That's kind of been a thought process. I meant to share that earlier, and I know a lot of people won't stay on this long to get that. I meant to share that earlier, but I feel like that's why he didn't go down to floors 1 with Bethany and Dylan. Because now, if it is true that he dated one of the girls, again, that would be interesting, but we don't know that part yet. But I feel like after the first 4, he ran out of time and was probably worried that the police were on their way. Because now there was yelling, the defensive wounds, movement. Ethan was said to have been out of the room. I almost forgot to share that earlier, so that's why I'm sharing it now, but I'm going to share it. My friends, thank you. I'm out of here. Happy New Year. I hope 2023 rocks it for you guys. And I hope we see a lot less crime. I know we can never get rid of crime. I just hope we see a lot less. Hey, if New York can start cleaning it up a little bit, why can't the world? I don't know. I'm Manny Rodriguez. Thank you so much. I look forward to serving you and being a voice for the victims again. Peace.